That was certainly a long day. I wonder what movie I should watch. Seen it. Hmm. The Last Jedi. I never saw that one. Apparently it does a whole bunch of different stuff with the franchise, but maybe I'll give it a try. Stop right there, little boy! Oh my god! Who are you? What are you doing in my house? What are you, stupid? Just take a gander at my garb. Oh. He just a Star Wars fan. Just a Star Wars fan, boy. I turned this movie. To this. And his name is And his name is Somehow property returned. Don't even forget what I did to those other two guys. I literally have no idea what's going on right now. To be honest, I love Star Wars, but I cannot take Star Wars fans' shenanigans. Star Wars fandom has been unfortunately influential since its creation because of the creativity, rabid passion, and toxic commitment and nostalgia to the source material. The thing to know about the Star Wars fandom is that, really, the Star Wars fans that are the most vocal and that you hear about the most today are really people that grew up with the prequels. By the time the first trilogy wrapped up, people had widely accepted that Star Wars was good and fun and everybody could enjoy it. Then 20 years go by and we don't get a Star Wars movie. Until May 19th, 1999. On that fateful day, a movie called The Phantom Menace was released. I cannot stress enough how people were losing their minds over this film. This was a Star Wars for a brand new generation.
The trilogy was just so phenomenal. People have been awaiting this for like 16 years.
This movie was made under the budget of $115 million. And in the box office, they saw back $1.7 billion. Thanks to The Phantom Menace, 1999 was one of the biggest pop culture moments in a generation. People flooded to the theaters in Star Wars gear and costumes and all that. And remember, at this time, the standard for Star Wars was that they're fun movies that are just solid all around. So solid up to the point where you don't even realize that they're that good. But then something strange happened. People saw the movie, they enjoyed it, and then they went home and they said, wait a minute, that wasn't very good. People who grew up with the original trilogy at this time, or at least watched them growing up before the prequels even came out, were very, very angry with these movies and took their feelings out on just the wrong people. Fans reacted specifically harsh to The Phantom Menace. One of the actors, Jake Lloyd, who played a young Anakin Skywalker in this film, was so harshly harassed and bullied online that it even bled into his everyday school life. Anytime that he's interviewed about Star Wars now, he just seems like odd and uncomfortable.
Is the acting career over? What's the plan with all that?
It seems to be relatively over. I quit acting about 10 years ago, so I think that's pretty well and behind me.
And the fans' reaction to it caused his actual real life to be miserable.
He officially retired in 2001, and years later would cite the intense bullying he received from Star Wars as the reason.
The Star Wars fans harassed and bullied some of these actors so hard that one of the actors, Ahmed Best, even considered suicide.
About as much as anyone could be expected to take, Best became suicidal. In July 2018, the actor revealed in a Twitter post that he nearly decided to jump off a bridge due to the media backlash against Jar Jar, a backlash that still affects his career today.
So people continue to clown on these movies, and then the Revenge of the Sith came out, and then there was nothing really much in the form of movies for Star Wars. The prequels and the subsequent backlash had ended. But then, on December 18th of 2012, Disney decided, you know what? I can make a Star Wars. 2015, we saw the release of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Prequel fans absolutely bashed Force Awakens. They were accusing it of being the exact same thing as A New Hope. They were saying that the acting was bad. They were absolutely slam dunking it. But this backlash and fan rioting was nothing in compared to the reaction they would have to The Last Jedi. To call The Last Jedi polarizing is the hardest understatement you could possibly make. And then we talk about Rose. Rose is a new character in this movie, so she wasn't in The Force Awakens, and she, was never in any other movies. And I want to be honest, her part in the movie doesn't really make a lot of sense. And if their criticisms were about her place in the movie not being necessary, that would be fine. They quite literally bullied her out of the franchise. Not only did they bully an actor out of a franchise, but they basically harassed entire concepts out of the franchise. Everything set up in this movie was systematically contradicted and rewritten in the next movie, which was The Rise of Skywalker. You can tell that Disney was having a panic attack trying to make this movie. This movie had a much wider gap in between it than Force Awakens and Last Jedi did, and you could tell it's because they were frantically rewriting so many things. People were losing their minds that in The Last Jedi, they killed the main robe-wearing bad guy. So what they did in Rise of Skywalker is they decided, let's just make a new one. You know what? Let's not even make a new one. Let's bring back a character that got atomized in the end of the first movies. And let's just not even explain it. And this is all because people were upset that one of our main characters murdered a ambiguous villain that we didn't really learn anything about. I mean, these prequel fans were absolutely losing their mind that The Force Awakens was redoing certain things that they did in the original trilogy, but then when The Last Jedi tries to do something different, and I mean very different, they still lose their minds. Now, if you're keeping track, so far, this fandom has bullied people into career-ending moves, caused people almost to take their own life, changed the course of entire storylines, and even bullied an actress out of a role. I mean, yes, Rose is in Rise of Skywalker, but has maybe 2 lines, and you could tell it's because they bullied her so hard on the internet that Disney was like, these Star Wars fans will eat us if we put this woman back in these movies. We just have to pretend that she's not even here.
People bullied her so hard that Disney was too cowardly to let her do anything.
Now, I know some people are going to say, well, this can't be the most influential fandom. I mean, there are so many, and to just discredit all the others would be ridiculous. And I agree with that. There are plenty of other fandoms that are incredibly influential. I mean, you look at horror fans, they'll go to see any schlock that has some sort of spooky aspect to it. And I mean, that's why Saw has like 8 different sequels, and Jason Voorhees comes back to life and gets killed 8 different times. And if we want to talk about influential toxic fandoms, then just look at the Rick and Morty fandom. You can look at basically any science fiction fandom, or specifically the comic book fandom, and see how invested they are into that property. I mean, look at Marvel fans in specific. They go to all the Comic Cons and they read all the books and do research on these characters, and specifically the Marvel comic book fans, they'll read the comic books, but they'll also go see the movies. And they'll, go across media to learn and enjoy this material. But the thing about Star Wars fans is they've been there and done that. I mean, inside of the Star Wars fandom, there are like 100 different subspecies fandoms. You have people who are vapid fans of the novels, and then Star Wars has a whole bunch of video games that people will defend tooth and nail. And if we're talking about people dressing up for Star Wars, people have made full suits of armor so they could look like the Mandalorian or Darth Vader. Some of the stuff that these people make is pretty great, and it's honestly impressive. But then you top that with the fact that Star Wars fans are so angry and vocal that they can make Disney a multi-billion-dollar company change the way that their third movie is going to come out, there's no other fandom that could really do that. I mean, half the problem in other fandoms is that the people who are making this media are not listening to the fans. This is the exact opposite problem when it comes to Star Wars fans. It seems that everything made now by Disney is sort of reactionary. Disney was frustrated after The Force Awakens came out. Disney was afraid that they were keeping it too safe, so they hired Rian Johnson and made something that was very different for Star Wars. In my opinion, good, but in others not. And then the reaction to that was so incredibly harsh that they were like, all right, let's just take everything we did in that movie and basically do the opposite. Oh, yeah, there's a scene of Luke Skywalker throwing his lightsaber away in Last Jedi. So in this movie, we're going to have him catch a lightsaber. Like, and that's not just Disney being completely incompetent. They've made good stuff before. You look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you see how tight they kept that up until recent years. There is no reason for Disney to be fumbling this hard, except for the fact of the Star Wars fans basically going feral. Nostalgia bait is riddled through any current Star Wars media, and that's literally just because they want to please the younger Star Wars fans that grew up and are now vocal and have loud opinions. Basically, I believe that the Star Wars fandom is very influential because it almost has complete control of what Disney produces, whether it's for the better or for the worse. I also think that Star Wars fans hold the rare ability to almost directly affect the actors of Star Wars in a very impactful way. And lastly, Star Wars fans were among the first group of fans that ever really do it.